Brady. I'm the sales manager for the Miranda store.
Hi Brady, how are you? Good.
Morning, Julian. My name is Mehul. I'm the new MD from Sydney City Store.
Hi, well welcome to myer Mall. Today we're going to visit Bernie Favaloro. He's the store manager of this particular store, and his whole career he's been in retail. And he's working on changing the culture in his store, and today we're going to go and talk to him about that and how he's working on delighting his customers every time. And as you know, in New South Wales ACT, that is our big focus, to delight our customers every time. So let's go and say hello to Bernie and let's see what we can learn from him today.
Perfect.
Come on. Hi Bernie, how are you?
Good morning,
Lovely to
Julie.
see you
Lovely to
again.
see you.
Now, I brought along a couple of visitors today.
Fantastic.
Mahal is a new MDP from Sydney City.
Hello, Molly. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Brady is a sales manager for Miranda.
Hello,
and
Brady.
I've been telling them about your work you're doing on customer service in the store, and the work you're doing on the culture, and how you're working on delighting our customers every time. And I've given them a big rap about you as to your expertise in this matter, and we're very hungry, aren't we, for
Yes, we
some
are.
learning. So
Well, fantastic. Well, first of all, welcome to our store.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can share some of the delighting the customer principles that we've been using. So how about we have a quick walk around the floor and then we'll go upstairs and we can discuss.
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Thanks. So, Bertie, thanks so much for seeing us today.
My absolute pleasure.
We are really excited about this program. And I know, because you and I have talked, that last August you came to the Warringah Mall store, and you've worked really hard on customer service, the culture in the store. The store has had a long history of a lot of different store managers over a short period of time. And I just want you to share with the guys today what those learnings have been and where you've started and where we're at. And I know the guys have got some questions for you.
Certainly, Julianne. Well, first of all, I'm lucky that I actually live in the local area and have for the last 3 years. So I was aware of some of the complications that this store had. And one of those was that there was really a disconnect between the customer and the team members and management, for that sake. So my biggest hurdle was to re-engage, and that's a word that I've been using from the first time I walked in the store, was to actually engage the customer, and now we use the word delight the customer. So it's really making contact with the customer, making the customer feel as if they are important and that they want to be part of what's going on in our store. So it's not just delivering outstanding customer service, it's also making it a theatre for them to want to participate in the store and have a relationship with the team members and management. So we've done a lot of work in educating the team members in doing that so that they feel they're part of the team. So it's very important that the team feels that they're participating and we have a goal. So the goal was that we wanted to turn this store around to becoming a winning store. We wanted to win. So we wanted to have some successes. Now, if that meant getting sales successes, if it meant getting customer delight or getting customer compliments, that's where we want to go. And we wanted to make everyone be involved with that and be part of that success of Warringah. We knew we had to start small. And one of the biggest issues I had, which is the day I call when I learned about Facebook. And that was the day when we had our major customer complaint on Facebook. And that Facebook complaint really reinforced to me all of what I've just explained to you. And in fact, that complaint within 36 hours had 942 comments, all agreeing with the lack of service, the lack of interaction, and the fact that the team were not on board with delighting the customer. So that gave me a great tool to really motivate the team and to go forward.
So Bernie, I know that is what you've been working on, but I'm particularly interested for the two team I've got here today to understand the part you've personally played in the leadership, because I guess for all of us in New South Wales ACT, in our endeavours to delight the customer every time, the leadership expertise is going to be of vital importance. And I just want to understand from you what you personally did and how you personally changed the store's focus with customer service.
Certainly, Julianne. What was important was, as I mentioned, we wanted to be a winning team, and a winning team must have a leader.
Yep.
You must be the one who is going to make that cultural change by performing out on the floor yourself. It cannot come by handouts, it cannot come by showing a DVD that only shows certain behaviours. It's your behaviour on the selling floor, interacting, delighting the customer. So I made a very conscious decision that I would spend a considerable amount of time interacting with the customers. And so I was greeting the customers at the front door with a smile, with a good morning or a good afternoon. I was then interacting with the customers and seeing that they were getting the service. And you've got to be very frank and be prepared to ask the customer, and I like to pick a customer which has got a shopping bag in their hand and ask them, good morning, introduce myself, and then ask them, how was the service in my store today? And you've got to be prepared to take on the feedback that it's either going to be a positive interaction or a negative one. The plus of a negative is that you actually learn where you need to improve. So the customers are very happy for you to be able to do that. So once I started doing those interactions continuously, you can see the behaviours of my management team wanting to follow and do the same. And obviously we had meetings and discussed it, but it's the actual behaviour on the floor that is what's going to win for you in delighting the customer. So my behaviours, then my management behaviours of my team, my management team, and then the team members started to, because they honestly believe if the store manager is prepared to go and talk to customers and serve customers, then that's the leadership they've been looking for. And so that made a huge difference. As I said the day about Facebook, I also then took some very good advice from our regional general managers, and they suggested I do some coffee talks. So again, I set up meetings with customers, and we're lucky we have a cafe, but I set up meetings with 6 to 8 customers, and I asked them about the service in the store, and again, you've got to be strong enough to take on that feedback, and you listen through all of what's happened and what hasn't happened in your store, and then the customers will actually give you a lot of the answers, what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who makes eye contact, somebody who smiles at them, and somebody who wants to help them in their selection, if that's the process. But just having that interaction means the customer feels part of the store. And the number of customers that said to me, you're making a difference to my store. They consider myer to be their store. And that's a big part of what we're trying to succeed in doing. So you've been listening to what I've been doing and what my management team and my team members have been doing in the store. And as I said before, it is a team effort. You know, it's one individual can get to where we are at the moment. It's a team effort. Do you have any questions so far on what I've been talking about?
Well, I guess my only question would be, what's different about this program? So we've had so many strategies like awesome service, 6 steps of selling, delivering the promise in the past. What makes this one so unique?
It's a very good question, because the economy, the marketplace has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. We are now known as bricks and mortar retailers. We have the internet. We have overseas retailers coming out here, and particularly in the city and the major shopping areas now, all the big retailers are coming to invade Australia. So what this particular program, Delighting the Customer, does is makes the interaction with the customer on the shop floor. That's going to be the difference. When we're competing against internet people, they can't do that. We can have an interaction. We can make the customer feel important in the store. Make the customer feel part of our store, as I mentioned earlier. So that is a very good question. That is the difference. And we have to do that not only to survive, but to be successful. Because survival of the fittest is what's going to win for us. And delighting the customer is what it's all about.
I know you have been manager for Sydney City Store, which is a quite bigger store. And now you've been moved to Warringah Store. So is there any change in your leadership style, or it's still the same?
It's still the same, but a very good question, Rahul, because what is important is the style of you as a manager and the leader of the particular team. So the variety of the size of the store doesn't change your style. So the way that I spend and interact with my team members and the way I interact with my customers is the same if it's a big store, medium or a small store.
Thank you.
I know you said earlier that leading by example was one tactic that you used in getting the team members involved. What other ways do you think would help?
Very good question, Brady. What I developed, particularly for this store, was to make sure that I did a lot of observations. So as I mentioned, I spent a lot of time on the floor leading, but also I observed my team leaders, my team members and my sales managers in their approach to customer service and delighting the customer. So when I do those observations, two things happen. We have reward and recognition, and we also have a chance to reinforce the areas they're not improving on. So I take time out on my time on the floor to observe the interaction between my customer and my team member. If it's a positive interaction and delight, then obviously I pick the appropriate time to go back and to say, Brady, I observed how you served that customer and the delight that the customer left our store with, and I congratulate them for it.
Yeah.
So that's positive reinforcement. And at the same time, I will then talk to them if there is no interaction. So I pick the appropriate time again to talk with that team member. And I know it can be a little bit threatening earlier on when a store manager is saying to a team member, this is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
But that is setting the expectation I have for my store and the expectation I want from my customers. And after a period of time, all the team understood that and are on board and then started to deliver those great customer compliments and delighting the customer.
Team members, they've got so many tasks to complete in every day, so how we can expect them to juggle so many things together?
Well, as I've mentioned, the number one priority in this store is delighting the customer.
Yep.
So we have between 11 and 2 is the time that you're on the floor and all of your tasks are put to one side. We're there looking for customers. So in actual fact, if a team member leaves part of their floor and goes to find a customer, I reward that team member with that, because all I want is interaction between the customer and the team member. So you have to be organised. You've got to be committed to it. And that comes from the leader and the management team conveying that message down the line and spending quality time. So you must have to be organised. You need to have a team that is prepared to work through what the tasks are for the day,
Yeah.
and then allocating them to the right time, not at midday when your busiest period of the day is, because then that's poor management.
Yes.
So you've got to free the team member up to be able to do the most important task, which we don't use the word task, but to delight the customer. So this is actually where I have my coffee meetings with my customers. So I ask them, I invite them in, and obviously we have a cup of coffee together. We sit in this lounge with a couple of more chairs, and then I go through, I ask the questions to them, tell me about my store, what's good, what's the service, what's not so good. Obviously the customers love to tell you all the things that we're doing wrong, but it's a great learning curve because you get to see then exactly where you're at and where you need to go to. So this is really my little area where I have my coffee meeting with customers. I just wanted to show this to you so you can see it doesn't have to be the world's best cafe, but it can certainly be somewhere where it's a bit private and quiet.
And it's your obviously you taking the time to talk to the customers.
Exactly.
I think that's more the important part to the customer.
Well, in actual fact, Julianne, I've had a customer, and I always remember this. I invited her up to do the coffee session, and she said to me during the actual interaction, I was the first myer person in 20 years of shopping here that actually made eye contact with her and actually had a conversation with her. Anytime she'd gone to a register point, she only just got the usual in the bag, out the door. And somebody who wanted to care and actually listen to her about this shopping experience. And she said, honestly, you're the first person in 20 years that's actually had a conversation with me.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary, but it proves how much work we've all got to do to get to where we want to be with delighting the customer.
And I think all our customers are a bit hungry for and on this point I just wanted to ask you one thing. What are the things you do when you're on the floor or you're just walking the floor? So
Yes, what I do is you must have customer awareness. So you really do need to look out for the customer, because you can see that, I don't know, I call it my customer antenna goes up, and I can see or I can listen, and I can see the customer is looking for something, or she wants some advice, or sometimes, and occasionally you will get a customer who just gives you a grunt back because they're not in the mood to talk. So you've got to be prepared to accept that as well. But if you can sense that the customer needs help and you go over and help.
Well, I noticed you've got a gold Spartan badge.
yes.
When you received that, how did you feel?
Oh, I received my first Spartan badge as a bronze member,
Fantastic.
but I was not aware of it. when I just received it from my sales manager. It's because of feedbacks and the great service I was providing to our customers. And I was really surprised that we have that kind of program in our store. And I was really excited with that. And my next aim was to get a silver one. So I improved in my service in a better way to delight our customers. And then after 2-3 months, I received my silver. And it sort of became a target for me that I need to go higher in this hierarchy. So I constantly focus on improving my customer service and giving best customer feedbacks I can get from them. So it was a really good experience for me, and I received the last one as a gold, I think last September, which was again a really good experience, and I received it from my store manager. So it was again a really good experience.
Fantastic.
No, that's excellent. We understand about recognition and rewarding for delivering outstanding customer service. Another tactic that I used in my store, once we had the magic Facebook moment, was that I wanted to reward my team members who were displaying the correct sort of characteristics for delighting the customer. So in priority 1, we actually have a customer service specialist under that. So I personally, when I'm on the floor to make one of those observations, I then say to the team member at the appropriate time, "Mahul, would you mind taking your badge off?" And then I reward the team member by making this commitment of putting on the under badge, their customer service. So they become one of Bernie's customer service specialists. Now obviously I don't hand these out to everybody. Now I actually tell the team member, if another team member says, "Why have you got that?" the answer is because Bernie observed me displaying outstanding, delightful customer service. So that's another way in your store of being able to delight the customer, but also delight your team member and reward them and recognise them for outstanding customer service.
And Bernie, I'm sure that the team members feel $1 million when you do that.
Yes,
so
they
tell the guys how that,
Well,
what
in
happens
actual
then,
fact-
because I'm sure it'll be a rub-on effect.
It is a rub-on effect, Julianne, and what happens is that the pride that they display, and the fact that they've been given this under badge to wear, the reason they've got it is because they've given this delighting customers, and that's the most important thing. I've had a couple of team members actually shed a tear because the culture has changed so much that they want to be part of this winning culture of delighting. And so there are many tools out there for all of us to use that we just need to get onto and then be consistent in our behaviour in displaying and recognising team members who are delighting the customer every day.
Brady, I see that you were the winner of the Q3 Spartan Sales Manager Award.
Yes, I was.
And-
Very exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you realise the importance that our store managers place on who we nominate.
Yeah.
And the importance of that award. Tell us about how that made you feel.
Well,
and
I was very flattered. I was actually hired externally, so I've been with the company just shy of 5 months now. At the time, we had a new store manager who'd only been in a couple months earlier, and his main focus had been customer service, and that was the biggest change that he wanted to see. So he nominated me for the award because he'd witnessed the changes in behaviour of a couple of my key team members, so he wanted to recognise me for that.
So can I ask a question, just rolling on with what we've been talking about today? How have you made those changes? What difference in customer service did you make to your area?
We actually had a store manager visit the store, and she had a talk with us about customer service, and we have a refit that's coming up. So she was saying there has to be even more emphasis on good customer service, and something that really stuck with me was she said, find a way to say yes. And that's something that I've communicated with my team. So even if they don't feel like, there's an immediate resolution that they can come up with for a customer query or problem, if they can't say yes, they need to find someone who can.
And so do they call for a manager?
The way that I deal with my team members with customers, I want them to call me as a last resort. I think that a lot of them have been in the business for 15, 20 years. They know the business probably better than even I do. So generally I like them to come up with a fast, quick solution for the customer. If it's a scenario where they don't know what options they have, then I'm point of contact.
So that's excellent, Brady, because what you're doing is actually empowering your team members to make decisions about delivering and delighting customers with outstanding customer service.
Yeah.
And that's the connect that you want to have in your store at the level of a sales manager is that because you can't do everything. You know, the question
That's right.
the question you asked earlier about organising the day and how we've got tasks. So you've got to have your team members making decisions. And for that to happen, you need to empower them to feel that they can contribute to the overall success of the store. And that's where I was talking about winning a winning store. So congratulations, because that's outstanding to be able to know and to implement the empowerment of your team members, because it means that the customer is not leaving the store unhappy.
Yeah.
You're stopping from that to happen. So compliments, return business will all come about by you empowering your team members, and they will feel good because they feel as if you've empowered them to make decisions and to be part of the team.
Well, they feel more invested as well.
More invested. Excellent. Congratulations.
I'm feeling really inspired by everything we've discussed today, but my question is, how do I get started when I go back to my store? What's the first step?
Brady, you have got to consciously change your behaviour, and your team will then see that. You remember I spoke earlier about you being the leader and the team wanting a leader, so they observe you even though you're not aware some of the time. So what your behaviours are on the selling floor is what they actually, in some cases, will mimic.
Yeah.
So if you're being extremely busy and task orientated, then your team members will do the same. However, if you go back and the first thing you do is walk up to a customer, introduce yourself and use that beautiful smile that you have to say hello and to greet them, then that behaviour will be noted. And then the interaction that you have with the customer will be noted. So start by doing that. And then I would suggest that you one-on-one do your observations with your team members, and those observations then you give the positive feedback to the team members for the ones that have been successful, and then you pick the appropriate time to talk to the other ones one-on-one about how they can improve. But if you're showing those behaviours, then you'll be able to say, watch me. So you actually coach them on the floor.
Yeah.
And that coaching on the floor is the way you'll make a considerable change to the behaviours of your team members.
And I guess you're setting the standard as well then, aren't you?
You are setting the standard as well. That's right. And it's your area. So you know exactly what you want for your area.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I would recommend that you start doing.
And I don't know whether you have ever done any studies on people and team members, particularly what inspires them. But there's a lot of studies that say the frontline manager in an organisation where the frontline team are reporting to is the critical link in the success of that business. And I don't want you to undervalue the role that you play in the success of leadership, delighting the customer. And, consciously, as Bernie said, consciously go out there and say hello. I know a store manager who was appointed only in the last year, and she goes every day and meets 3 customers. That's her absolute minimum goal. And she introduces herself. I'm the store manager. How are you today? How's your shopping experience? Not dissimilar to Bernie, but probably a different focus in that store at that time. But the overwhelming feedback says that team members are absolutely inspired by the front line, and what you do and how you lead can be the difference between them staying with the organisation or going. And in fact, there's many studies that say that frontline team members make the decision to leave an organisation because of their frontline manager, not necessarily their store manager. Although, we're absolutely focused on the store manager has to be the leader, but don't undervalue the role that you play. And just some simple things that you could do in your stores.
And I think, as they say, that your team is as good as you are.
Mm-hmm.
So you are the reflection of your team. So if you're not doing well, I don't think your team can do it well.
That's exactly right. Now, Mahu, can you tell me what you do with customer service? How do you delight with the customer? What's your...
Well, as a sales manager, the expectations are that we spend most of our time on the floor, interacting with customers, especially between 12 and 2.
Yes.
So we go around, see all the customers are being served. If there's a big queue on registers, we normally go and help to put down the queue. We try to interact as much as we can with the customers and provide them with the service.
Right, so all of what you've described, a lot of it, and please, we're here as a team to
Yep.
see how we can all improve. I've learned from you today as well,
Yes.
so it's all very good. One of the areas there is that you were talking about observing, cues or observing the process of a sale.
Yep.
And I talk about processing a sale. That's not selling and that's not delighting the customer. I want you to be able to have more interaction with the customer, and that means for you to do what Julianne's just spoken about and what we've talked about earlier, in actually having a conversation with the
Yeah.
customer and introducing yourself. I think that if you start doing that, as we mentioned earlier, Brady, then your behaviours will then reflect what your team members do.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree to that.
Good.
So I think what the next step of this fabulous morning is that we see you in action. What do you think, guys?
Yes,
Let's go and
definitely.
have a
Let's go.
look at Bernie displaying how he delights his customers at Warringah Mall, and just see what other things we might pick up ourselves, unlearn from the experience. So let's go.
Great.
Brady and
Good morning, guys.
That's
How are
right.
you?
Hi, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm
This is
Mary.
Mary. This is one of our
Brady.
customers.
Nice to meet you.
Mahul.
Nice to meet you
So,
as well.
Mary, how often do you shop in my store?
Not very often. I
Doesn't it?
used to a lot.
Yeah.
I have, on previous occasions.
Yeah.
Paying attention and that makes a bit of a difference.
That's all right. That's good. Well, so, what do you look for with service? I just want for my colleagues to understand. What would
Yes.
you like in service in a department
It's
store?
nice to come in, but you don't necessarily let people come in, I find, for me. I mean, I've been into some stores and you can't even get into the door before they say, can I help you?
Oh, that's
Especially
more
dress
than
shows,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. No, that's boutique style.
Yeah,
But department store.
Yeah, by
What-
all means. If you see me walking around, yes, it'd be nice to say if I could help you, or by all means have a look around, and if I can help you, please come and see me. Or if I say, yes, please, could you just show me a few things, and I'd be happy to.
And what about just being greeted with a smile?
Oh, definitely.
That
That's
makes
the main thing.
that's the main thing. See, that makes the main thing,
Yeah,
isn't
you're
it?
better than that.
You
Can
can't
you
do any
now?
better than that
That's
than a smile.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Mary, thank you
That's
so
all right.
much.
Thank you very much.
And so what I'd like to do now is, because you've taken some time, is if you go down to our cafe, you know where the cafe is, isn't it? And you just pick out a lovely piece of cake and a nice cup of coffee or tea for yourself, and say, Bernie said he would pay for it. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a great
Yes,
day.
but I think just to be attentive without being overbearing. Often in stores I find, I'll
Yep.
just say, none in particular, but
No.
you go and the staff are talking about what they did on the weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it, you think, and it just makes you go, But just you don't have to be over the top, just acknowledge that I'm there. I think that's
That's right. And what we're trying to do is actually delight you.
Yeah.
And so as we said, the smile, the eye contact,
Yes,
just to
yeah.
try and make it a pleasant experience for you.
Yes, it is, always has been, so I'd be happy to come back more often. Sure.
That'd be great. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you all so
Enjoy
much.
it.
Really
See
appreciate
you
the
later.
feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
So the customer that you spoke to with Bernie, and you saw the customer how when Bernie prompted her what makes her delighted, although she didn't use the word delighted, he talked about smile and acknowledgement, making eye contact. Do you see how immediately she said, yes, that's my expectation?
So our customers, whilst they might not understand the words delight, they have the expectation that we will delight them, and that's eye contact, smiling approach, helpfulness, and obviously then if there's a need, taking that to the sale level. And you notice with Bernie, he always introduces himself. I'm Bernie, I'm the store manager. So you need to get accustomed to say, I'm the sales manager, I'm Brady, I'm the sales manager. So the customer has that link immediately with you as a myer representative. You can see how that lady loved that approach.
And I think that's any customer service, that's the basic of any customer service. Just see say smiling.
Absolutely. So you one of you talked about before SOS, a link, so you can see how everything's linking
it's been
together.
linked together,
So
yeah.
See Smile Say Hello has been around for years. So they're all linking into the same model to delight the customer.
And it makes a great difference when you approach anyone with a big smile. It can be
Absolutely.
anyone.
And eye contact. I think Bernie keeps
Yeah.
reinforcing eye contact. How many times have you witnessed where a person might be looking down? That's not where we want to be. We want to welcome the customer into our store like we're welcoming them into our home.
That's right.
Okay.
So it was very interesting watching Bernie in action.
Yes.
What do you think the learnings have been for us today? What are some of the things that you feel you want to discuss?
What I observed is, it's a really good thing which I observed in Bernie, that you need to be ready when you approach a customer for any kind of feedback. You can get it from them. The first thing which I observe is you approach the customer with full confidence, and then you should be ready for any kind of feedback what they're going to give you. It's not always you're going to get good feedback. Can be bad feedback sometimes. And the whole process, I just saw Bernie that he never lost his smile. If good feedback, bad feedback, the smile was always there. And there's always an opportunity for improvement. I mean, nobody's perfect in this world. So we always have to keep on making things perfect and more improving.
Yes. So don't let the customer who might not be as positive dampen your enthusiasm.
Exactly.
I think very important that you know that all of us, I've quite often had customers and I've bounded up to them and said, hello, I'm Julianne, I'm the store manager. How was your experience today? And I've been a bit disappointed when they go, not so good. So you need to practice that, I guess. And don't be despondent. That's, as you say, an opportunity for us to learn more and to say to the customer, thank you for your feedback. And, give me some specifics. And I want you to know that I'm working on improving the service in my area or my store. And I will continue to work on that until we get that service at the level that you would expect.
And I think just one more thing we can add with that, at least we can make a promise to the customer that next time if you walk into the store, you're not going to get the same service again.
Correct.
So it's actually the customer feels okay, the environment is changing and the culture is changing, so they feel happy to come into the store back.
Absolutely.
I know myself that sometimes when I have a lot of tasks to complete, or sometimes I'll have tunnel vision walking onto the floor, especially in a department like shoes, which is a high service area. I noticed Bernie talked about before his customer radar, and I noticed on the floor before he was almost preempting customers asking for help. And I think that's something that definitely all stores will be able to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney video, but the moment that in the Disney video you came from the back of house, they called it, you're on stage. And I guess if we are the leaders and the minute we walk on the selling floor where there's customers, we have to remember we're on stage and we're on show, and the focus needs to go from the task to the customer. And as Bernie says, his antenna radar for customer, sussing out the customers. And I think you said how he was talking to us and then he'd leave us and talk to the customer. That's so important. And you only need to do that a few times as sales managers, and you'll find your team totally understand where you're trying to go with delighting the customer every time.
I totally agree with you, Julian, because I've seen, it's my own personal experience, that when you get out of the manager's office, you have something in mind, a sort of mission that you need to do it. And you walk straight to that particular place, just ignoring everything what's happening around you. And you go straight there, do your task, and you exactly think that, okay, if I'm not going to do this now, I'll never do it again. But I think that's a high time to change this culture, because we have to look around when we are making our journey. It's sort of stations we can say that we have to stop there and make our time there, and then again head back to our journey.
It will be very powerful, the change you will see in your team.
Yeah.
So you need to consciously decide that that's the focus, but you will be very surprised within the first month. Your team's focus will change.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. So that's great feedback, guys. Anything else that you feel that you want to discuss?
Well, I think it was a really good experience for me seeing Bernie what he does, and I think it's going to make a big improvement in my life and how I work. So I really want to thank Bernie for sharing his experience with me.
Yeah, fantastic. And Brady, as our Q3 Sales Manager Customer Passion Award person.
Yes. No, today was really, really good. I now have to go back and shift some of my priorities where they were sitting. But yeah, no, really helpful, really good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you, Julian, for bringing us over here and giving us the great feedback.
Now we're going to have an ice cream. Thank you so much for your fantastic, exciting morning for us.
Oh, our pleasure. Nice to see you.
We've loved being here and learning and seeing
That's
what
good.
you get up to.
All right, so Brady, all the very best. I wish you every success. Thank you, Brady. All the very best. Great success. Julianne, great to see you.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.